Wow, it's so good to be back to back, not just on Zebu Live stage, but actually on fashion stage, because I feel like there are so many questions that need to be answered. There are so many topics that need to be discussed, but there is one specific that we're going to cover here today. With great power comes great responsibility. Those are the words that were shared by Tony Parker's uncle once. And I do believe that these words can be also used for luxury space, specifically fashion space. I do believe that there is a lot of controversy going right now between traditional fashion space and digital fashion space. Can they coexist? Are they working together? Are they rivals, allies? We're gonna figure it out today. I'm really happy to share a stage with very close friends, old friends, new friends, but we're all here in this space building it together. So I'm gonna start from that side. One of my closest friends in fashion space, a talented artist and a true visionary in fashion space, Adri. Happy to have you here. We also have Olska coming from Milan, coming from Ikolska. With Olska, she's one of perhaps the very first digital fashion creators, to my knowledge. We just had a wonderful event during Milan Fashion Week, so it seems like from one fashion week we're going to another, and we're back to London. And a new friend, but I already feel that we connected pretty well. Francesca from Cute Circuit. I'm really happy that you're joining us here today as well. And ladies, I do believe that we're gonna start our panel by defining whether traditional fashion and digital fashion can coexist. And I want to ask you a very specific question. If they can, what is the biggest opportunity that digital fashion is bringing to its traditional counterparty? Olska, I see that you are actively nodding. I would love to start with you.
It's okay? Yeah. So from my practice, what I utilize digital fashion in real life, that's for me, digital fashion is a great opportunity to reduce overconsumption and overproduction, because I create 3D models before production. So for me, I have votings from my customers, and I merge in really seamlessly digital and physical, because firstly, I create digital items. I see great potential, what will be the best sellers, what not, what people really need now, and then produce. So it's on-demand production, and that's why digital fashion, I think it's the most useful role, digital fashion, for traditional fashion. Of course, digital fashion also very useful for all artists, for all digital designers, especially for young designers after university. They don't have a lot of budget for creating runway show or great collection, and they can create digital fashion show, like we already also created a digital fashion show with 3D avatars, and then you can have pre-orders from buyers, from investors, from your customers, and then produce digital, traditional physical clothes. So that's why it's like predictive analytics, like also AI, and digital fashion, especially with AI, will be the winner of fashion industry, and will be the main role for reducing overconsumption and overproduction. So for me, of course, my vote for digital fashion, exactly. Yeah.
Let's go. And I also believe that horizons of what we can do in digital space are much broader. What you just said, building something in digital reality, how it should look like, how you want it to look like, because Sometimes that's not what you can do in physical world, but if you have this vision, if you have this idea in digital realm, it might be a bit easier to find ways how to make it happen in physical, if there is a need to make it happen in physical. Adri, what is the biggest opportunity that, in your opinion, digital fashion is bringing to the table?
Well, so I also come from traditional fashion background. I'm not a designer, I'm an art director and fashion illustrator, so I've been mainly always working on campaigns or visual storytelling in the fashion industry. And I've always been very interested what new technology can bring to the game of fashion, if it makes sense. So starting from obviously mixed media and then fashion film and, you know, just like utilizing what's the opportunity that can bring the level of like interesting storytelling in the fashion industry. So obviously, as soon as I found out about digital fashion, I knew that's going to be a new game changer for me to explore. And I just really dove deep into this world literally since last year. And I'm really happy where it's heading. And so I think the biggest opportunities obviously also within how we approach fashion from like a visual point of view. So how do we like immerse in this new tech and how is it helping with the creation part of fashion? So obviously, you know, what we have right now is happening in digital fashion is like the AR filters, digital wearables that is just like a part of integration and building new identity in the fashion industry. Obviously, I agree with Olska, what she said about sustainability is a huge aspect of it, because we've witnessed, and I've been obviously observing that space as well for a long time. As soon as social media started to rise up, and I was actually the beginning when Instagram was invented, and saw that this change within the fashion industry, how obviously it's changed the whole game of fashion, the rise of fashion influencers and the rise of like fast fashion, it's just started to go in a really wrong direction. Like, I think that visual aspect of heritage and, heritage is always going to be here and stay here, but as fast fashion started to develop more and more, I feel like the pressure and the race with the trends and just like show off what am I wearing and need to go to Zara or H&M, just buy new clothes just to be trendy. I feel like that's what started to really go wrong with the fashion industry. So I think digital wearables are here, like one of the things that can help with the fashion industry, like digital wearables. And I saw this huge opportunity where there's a possibility of decreasing the, you know, mass value, like mass production, mass consumption. So I think that's what digital fashion can bring to the table. And I think that's the amazing part of it, why I'm so involved in this industry right now.
I also believe that this is a very good reason for us to focus more on quality than quantity, because when you have a bit less of these goods, when your focus is direct and you know what you want to achieve with a certain brand, with a certain vision, it's much easier for you to produce something that would be loved by people, and doesn't matter whether it's a physical good and then coming to digital, or it's from digital to physical. You need to have what you were just saying, you need to have, and with digital fashion you have this opportunity to pick where you start the journey and what would be the end result. Francesca, I know that you've been in this space for a while, and I know that you have your own thesis regarding where the space is going on. So what interests you the most? What intrigues you the most in terms of what digital fashion has in its backpack surrounding with it all the time?
Yeah, can you guys hear me? I use yours. Okay. Hey. So, well, I mean, I've been doing like sort of like actual wearable electronics for like, I don't know, close to 16 years now, and which is a very long time. And the whole reason we started a company that make clothes enhanced with microelectronics was because we wanted to enhance how people communicate and connect with each other. And I think that one of the opportunities for digital fashion is still allowing people that wear clothing that can be digital and then also turn into a real product to continue expressing themselves. And I think that there are two angles to this, because we were talking about like using digital clothing as a pre-visualization tool so that we can think, okay, we're just going to manufacture this garment rather than this other one. But then on the other hand, there is still this Instagram trend in which everybody tries on the digital collectibles, takes a screenshot, and then it uses them exactly like fast fashion. So on one side, we have a tremendous opportunity for, as Adriana and Olska were saying, to reduce pollution, to reduce over-manufacturing, and then obviously sending clothes to landfill, like it usually happens even with big brands. And then on the other side, we are educating new generations to consume faster and faster products that are actually even less expensive at times than a Topshop t-shirt. So I think that there is a dichotomy in where it is and where it could be going. And I think that we sort of have to work together to make sure that actually there is also an education angle to this. And so we make sure that consumers become empowered to understand they have a choice and to imagine themselves wearing something, but also not being trained to continue over-consuming, because I think that's one of the things that really is not the best aspect of the fashion industry. I found in my archive the other day a Vogue magazine from the pandemic era, the one that is like a Vogue Italia special titled "The Thread That Binds Us Together." And it was interviews with dozens of fashion designers from all over the world, saying this pandemic brought us to a halt and we are rethinking our business models. Everything will change after the pandemic. And then we're here after the pandemic and all the big brands just want to manufacture as much as they can and sell you as much as they can, even at higher prices or like. So I think that there is always like great intentions, and then it's like I think it depends on us designers to make sure that these good intentions sort of come to fruition.
And if I may say so, you look amazing today. You look very authentic, and I might even say that this is something that is having this reference to digital fashion creation. So this is the exact type of look that I am referring to when I'm thinking about digital fashion. First digital fashion, then traditional fashion. Some of the keywords that we just discussed were more sustainable, bringing more creativity to the space, expanding the horizons. That's all good. That's the opportunities that we're bringing. That's exactly what traditional fashion brands are looking when they were evaluating whether to join this digital race or not. Nevertheless, at the end of the day, it's all about usability. At the end of the day, it's all about the end user, the people who are sitting out there, being satisfied with what they see, having the chance to even co-create with the brands and have some voice in this user journey. So the question I have for you, how to make sure that digital fashion becomes more accessible to general audience, people who might even not be that big of fans, not coming from Fashion Week to Fashion Week, but they want to contribute somehow. They want to have something authentic, as I mentioned before. Are those some kind of pop-ups that we need to talk about? Is it tech like AR, VR that we need to mention? Adri, I would love to start with you this time.
Yes, so I think I want to say one of the amazing things I've seen over Digital Fashion Week this season in London actually was the DressX AR mirror, which I really loved. I've seen that before, but I think that was a really well executed production. I'm trying to find the word, but basically it was a perfect combination of merging digital and physical, bringing to the new space, because I think what my concern is sometimes, as I observe the space in the digital fashion, is that it can be a little bit hermetic and we get stuck in, we are like visionaries, we love what we're doing. I think we all have this great intentions as well, like Francesca said, but somehow sometimes I feel like we get a little bit stuck. And I think the problem that is right now we have to solve is, like you said, Nikki, is like how do we get it a bit bigger audience, and how do we project our passion to people who have zero idea about technology, or they just are very stuck in the routine of like consuming fashion. So for example, that mirror was really great execution, because first of all, it was at a fashion event where there were influencers from the traditional fashion world who actually had the chance, probably maybe for the first time as well, to try on these filters. It was really well executed as well, like, from tech point of view. And I think that's like, I mean, you probably could tell more what was the actual final feedback on this, but personally, I thought that this is the kind of direction that the fashion industry needs. It has to be seamless and has to be easy, because also, well, personally right now what I'm doing is I'm building a digital jewelry brand, which is based on my family business for over 30 years. And it's a very, like, when you think about it, it's very old school roots. There's never been anything too techy or fascinating about it. But I'm like the person who's like taking the responsibility of bringing it to the new world. And then like explaining it, the concept of digital fashion, for example, to my father, who is like very different generation, has zero idea what I'm doing sometimes, but he's like just trusting me with my direction. And I try to find, and it's really great for me as a person who's like living in between those two worlds, just trying to merge and find this way. How do I translate it to the generation of my father and bring it into new space and vice versa? So I think the major key takeaway I found already within this last year I've learned is that it has to be easy and it has to be pleasant, it has to be hassle-free, because as soon as there's something too complicated, people just give up, and I, even myself, I'm kind of lazy as well. Like if it's something really glitchy or something. So for example, AR mirrors are an amazing idea, AR filters, and I think it's just like onboarding, obviously consistently, but with this like easy tech is the way to go.
It needs to be understandable for the broader audience, and I do believe if you can explain it, show it, and get something ready for use for a younger generation or older generation, people who are not that tech savvy, people who are not, it's not their passion. We all are in this space, it's our passion, it's our profession, but nevertheless, as Adri just mentioned, sometimes even us are questioning ourselves in this industry. Are we moving in the right direction? How to make it even more efficient, even more adaptable for users? So if we can make it happen for the broader audience, that's a huge win for the whole industry. And I do believe what you just mentioned with this in real life experience, when in person people can touch the stack, when in person people can get some feedback, people can get explanation on how to use it and why it's needed. I do believe this is the best way how we can bring more and more people to this space. Francesca, Adri just mentioned London Fashion Week. London Fashion Week happened a bit more than 2 weeks ago, so there is a lot to take from this moment, and I know that you are going out. You are at these runways, you are at this event, so maybe you can answer this question by giving a couple of more examples of how actually digital fashion is educating the broader audience in person right now, if you have those.
Well, I think that there is this interesting, like, transformative power of digital fashion, and that's what everybody was really fascinated with during Fashion Week events. And I thought that one of the really beautiful things that happened was when also Olska showed their collection, and there were also like Julia Blanc, and then they were like, oh, look how we went from having these 3D garments that we all design in claw and takes forever. Because everybody thinks, oh, it's done really quickly. No, it takes a huge amount of time. And then it's transformed into a real garment. And I think that people are fascinated by the fact that it's not just virtual, it can become real. But one of the things that I think is the most complex when you go also from like a claw garment that then is an AR lens, and you just can visualize yourself with it, it's like the onboarding process is an absolute nightmare. I mean, one of the things that I think virtual clothing is interesting for is that like large brands like Louis Vuitton, and they try to do also the artifact for Nike, shoes. I mean, they have all these like crypto assets and NFTs that then you can possibly turn into a real product. So the thing that they are giving to customers is access to a private club. And so one of the things that we always hear about crypto and NFTs is like, oh, this is decentralized, distributed power. We are empowering the users everywhere. But actually, some of these assets are extremely expensive, and they create an elite that can access the Louis Vuitton club and then like 2 months down the road, you get the exclusive duffel bag in the weird orange color that you wouldn't have wanted before. So I think that there is like a little bit of a gap between genuine, as you were saying earlier, things that are happening, like with Olska, in which she makes her collection and is virtual, and then she turns into a real collection because she's really interested in like the sustainability aspect. And then there are lots of major brands that just jump on the bandwagon of crypto and decentralized just because they want to look cool, but at the same time they want to build a really stable private club that can always purchase their assets because they know who that demographic is, and they're not really interested in democratization that much. So I think as everything, I'm here as sort of the devil's advocate today. I don't know why, I'm in a weird mood. I'm usually super enthusiastic about everything, but today I just keep seeing both aspects of everything. So sometimes like it's idyllic and it's wonderful, and on the other side, it's like, there are so many little things that are not that fun to do. And setting up a crypto wallet is the most horrendous experience one could ever have. I tried to set one up for my mom, and she was like, I hate this thing. I was like, but don't you want my NFT? No. So if you cannot get your mom to want your NFT, then there is an onboarding issue in the whole process.
And actually, the event that you just referred to a moment ago was Claire's Digital Fashion Week that happened in New York, in London, and Paris. I just want to give a huge shout out because this was a great representation of what digital fashion is capable of and in which direction we're moving during a traditional fashion week, showing that actually the difference between these two fashion types is not that big. But definitely we need time, we need to make the onboarding more efficient, we need to make the whole educational process more adaptable for people, we need to make it more user-friendly. Olska, I do believe that these two wonderful ladies just warm up the stage for you to share your digital runway experience, because if you ask me, perhaps the top highlight of the last Digital Fashion Weeks was a digital runway, where you have physical looks with real physical models, with real designers' vision, but at the same time, it has some of this tech aspect, tech touch, whether it's a VR, AR, QR code, NFT, or whatsoever implemented in this piece. Please share with us what is the future of this runway shows and why digital fashion is helping it to take to a whole new level.
I truly believe that, yeah, it's future fashion because also for Gen Z, they used to play games, they used to buy skins in games. They have the same emotions from buying virtual like physical, even sometimes more. They have emotional satisfaction from buying the virtual skins from even physical clothes. And Gen Z already knows, they know about environmental problem from fashion industry, 92 million tons of textile waste, etc., etc. And they want to be sustainable, and they want to be more, they are, of course, digital native, so that's why they trust for digital assets. So that's why I see the great potential, especially you can see the digital fashion designers also very young, even 15 years old, 20 years old. And I see great potential for this audience from Gen Z, millennials. Of course, we should educate everyone and also boomers also. Yeah. But, yeah. But I think that of course, we should do it seamlessly, like also digital runway, that we see how AR fittings. Also, that we created, organized our event in Milan Fashion, during Milan Fashion Week with Dress6 with VR drawing for mostly maybe 80% of our guests firstly tried drawing in VR glasses, and for them it was like, wow, it's so cool. It's like it's emotions, like something interesting, like entertainment. So for me, it's also, fashion is also about emotions. And if you give people these emotions, it doesn't matter from digital or from physical. That's why I believe the great potential of digital fashion for giving a lot of emotions for people, satisfactions, and of course, sustainable aspect.
I do believe what Olska just did is to explain to our audience how to get attention of general consumer, why they should be interested in digital fashion, and what elements of digital fashion, such as fun, such as excitement, such as entertainment, such as accessibility, makes digital fashion accessible and possible for all of us. Nevertheless, this fun element, entertainment element, is not something that is enough for traditional fashion brands. So the question that I have for Francesca and Adri is how to make sure that digital fashion space has as sustainable business model in terms of money making, in terms of cash flow as possible already right now. Because if we take a look at digital fashion, everyone is trying to be sustainable and green, even though that's not true, not all the time. Everyone is trying to be innovative, but basically what they're doing, they're just repeating the other NFT projects, the other digital look that were already produced. And at the end of the day, it comes to the question, are you just doing it for fun, or you're doing it as a real business that will exist in 5, in 10, in 20 years from now? And I do believe that this question, how to make it a real business model, is what traditional brands are looking for. Because if we can answer this question, if they can see how to make money with it in an efficient, in a business sustainable way, they'll start joining the space more and more often. Francesca, how can we make it happen?
One of the key things is probably like transforming all these assets into potential services, but also interoperability. Because sometimes you see that there are skins in one metaverse, this weird word that nobody wants to use anymore, and then like you cannot really port them into another. Like every time I have a Ready Player Me, and it keeps losing the clothes whenever I go into a different environment. And I mean, it's kind of embarrassing. Like I remember, like during the Metaverse Fashion Week, we were having a party in a spatial gallery, and so first of all, there were so many assets, like 3D assets of different collections, and this spatial environment kept crashing, just because there were too many assets, it couldn't load fast enough, and like you need a super powerful computer to make everybody load in the same room. We kept losing people through the floor, and then they would spin back out, and then they would have the same outfit. So if you go to a party in real life, and 2 people have the same outfit, that's a no-no, is a dreadful faux pas, right? So you don't want to have that happen also in your virtual world. So I think that there needs to be like a really like good understanding of interoperability of all these assets, but also services connected to them. Because if it's just like buying cute skins, you do it 2-3 times, and then you get bored. And also, I think that many of these things like started during the pandemic. And I mean, even during the pandemic, I was spending time with my VR headset, at least 2 hours a day, doing my gym class in there, doing my dance class, and just like connecting with other people. And I mean, since the pandemic's over, I'm out and about in the sunshine. So, and I mean, I'm a geek. So I think that there should be a reason for making me want to go back in VR. And for example, I did that at the Royal Institution a couple of weeks ago. There was an amazing experience in which you could see the Milky Way from a new observatory in Australia. So I don't get to go to Australia. I can see this observatory and just experience it as if I was there. So I think this aspect of connectedness and bringing emotion, as Olska was saying, I mean, it's something that these assets need to really be able to bring. Because sometimes they're just isolated. Oh, looks really cool. But then for how long does it look cool? So yeah, interoperability, yes.
That all makes total sense. As I usually say, Adri, no pressure, you're just ending the panel, so the floor is yours.
Right, no pressure. I agree a lot what Francesca was saying as well, that there has to be an element that keeps this going, evolving, and there's not just like about tech. Obviously, I'm in it for tech, and I'm in it for sustainability, the creativity, also the community, I would even say as well. But I just can probably refer my idea about what I'm doing, what I want to achieve, at least with my brand, is that I really saw the potential of tech as well, of like evolving products. So obviously I'm focusing as well on digital. I love the aspect of physical and digital. And I see it as the current market is right now, that digital is still the extension of the physical. So for me, it's about a timeless product that's in the physical that will last for decades in the jewelry business. So obviously I'm focusing on creating collections that are gonna be timeless and can be generational kind of wealth, if that makes sense. But then I saw tech as an opportunity of extension of the product into the digital new realm. So ideally what I try to achieve is that the digital version of the physical product is gonna change over time. So there's no necessity for my clients or my customers to buy new products all the time, every year or every season. Is that digital is gonna change and it's gonna bring them this element of fantasy or something to play around with. And I hope obviously this is gonna evolve with them as the space is growing. So obviously there's a lot in this space to learn from. We're all building it. I guess we're like still testing, because I think this is such a new, exciting venue to explore. And yeah, I'm just super happy to be part of it.
If it would be for me, I would keep on this conversation for hours. Nevertheless, I have a shift to go to in 30 minutes. I mean, bear market is not a joke. It's not easy. But one thing for sure, I know that all of these innovators, all of these visionaries will be here in a year. And I will make sure that all of us are back to Zebu Live stage exactly in 1 year from now to take a look at what has been done to digital fashion space, to make sure that the progress has been there, that the innovation is coming. And we're gonna have this conversation once again. Nevertheless, for all of you who would love to continue this conversation with us after this panel, in 10 minutes from now, we're gonna have a live Ragreyo show with all of these amazing panelists. If you want to come and join us on Twitter. Other than that, I hope that you enjoyed it as much as we did. You are amazing. You ladies are amazing. Let's go.
Thank you.